It's a pretty somber MAGA hat Monday, as I learned just yesterday, Jimmy Carter, our 39th president, had passed away. And we're going to talk a little bit about the life and presidency of Jimmy Carter.
Carter, are you prepared to take the constitutional oath?
I am.
Would you place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of President of the United States
the office of President of the United States
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
It's unreal. Isn't this disgusting? Why doesn't anybody contact the president? Why is he letting this happen to us?
To sum up in the word of one irate motorist, the first day of the odd-even system was a disaster.
There's no shortage. I don't believe there's a shortage.
This is the second gas line this morning.
What happened at the first?
They ran out.
I've been in 2 gas lines already.
This morning?
This morning.
How long did you wait for the first
I've
one?
been in both lines over an hour, and I'm out of gas.
Some 60 Americans, including our fellow citizen whom you just saw bound and blindfolded, are now beginning their 6th day of captivity inside the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. It's Friday morning there now, but throughout this night in Washington, officials will continue their search for some way to negotiate the hostages' freedom.
Eventually, he was led back to join the other captives who have been kept out of sight.
The United States is in this fix because the former Shah of Iran is suffering from cancer and is receiving needed treatment in this country. But that explanation, that justification for his presence here, is not accepted by the Iranians.
Illuminati is a thing you need to watch out for. They want to depopulate and slave us so much more. World domination, I'll get into that later. I'm hardcore, fierce and sexy. You're just a hater. You deserve the ridicule because you're an absolute zero. I'm the keeper of the chalice, a rock and roll hero. I'm not an idiot nobody listens to, because I'm not a failure in life like you. Let's talk about Bill Gates and the mark of the beast and the orgies in the streets at the Catholic feasts and Bill and Hillary's human trafficking ring. And George Soros got the money to pay for everything. Socialism is for losers, working for the devil. Chumps that can't fight, they ain't on my level. It takes an evil one to try to debunk and doubt it, so I'd rather die than stop talking about it. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Watch out for the Illuminati. Watch out for the Illuminati.
James Earl Carter, born October 1st, 1924, grew up in the small town of Plains, Georgia. I believe the military branch that he served in was the Navy. I have to check that up again. And private industry, he started out as a peanut farmer. And a lot of the press picked on him for that until he got the nomination for Democratic candidate for President of the United States, and they sort of eased up on that later on in life when he was taken more seriously as a presidential candidate. He was also the governor of Georgia before running for president, and may have been the governor in office when I had made my trip to Georgia in 1975. I gotta check. Might have been some other schmuck. But, yeah, he ran a campaign against Gerald Ford, the acting president who was filling in to finish the term of Richard Nixon, who resigned and Ford had pardoned Richard Nixon. And a big thing that got Carter over the hump and got him in a narrow victory over Joe Ford to become the next president was that he told the public, quote, "I'll never lie to you," unquote. And with an America that saw Watergate, and prior to that, Vietnam, hook, line, and sinker, the American people voted for Jimmy Carter. And to Jimmy Carter's credit, he was an honest man and a man of God. A lot of people didn't know this, but while he was president, every Sunday in the White House basement, he conducted children's Bible study. Now, this is something I wanted to do, but my idea would have been a little bit different. What I wanted to do was actually build a tiny little old school type schoolhouse and call my thing the John Krantz Cybergoth Children's Bible Study. And I had a cool logo with it too. It was like a white shield with a black cross on it with the blue freaking wire harnesses that people like to wear when they do the Cybergoth thing. They kind of mix the wire harnesses with their dreads. And so I had that going on. And basically, my thing would be normal Bible study, only the kids would have to wear, like these head dressings that come off their heads, and they get left in the classroom, and each kid has his own little cubby where he keeps his Cybergoth head dressing. But, that didn't pan out too well. But bottom line is Jimmy Carter hosted children's Bible study while he was president. And so a lot of people didn't know that about him. He was a devout Christian, he was a man of God, and he was an honest man. He was just over his head. And you could tell that he was a man who championed himself on peace. He was very, very instrumental in the peace talks initiated by the late Golda Meir in Camp David to bring Egypt and Israel together to stop their feuding. And of course, this angered some of the religious leaders in Iran, including the then exiled Ayatollah Khomeini. But somehow, some way, the Ayatollah came back and his cult-like supporters overthrew the Shah and sent the Shah in exile. And those people sent him to exile and then wanted to bring him back to stand trial, placing a faux prime minister who had to answer to the new leader, the Ayatollah Khomeini. And as that's happening, gas prices are going through the roof because OPEC nations have the United States by the elbowzos. Subsequently, prices go up on everything in America. Rent, food, clothes, travel. Prices start skyrocketing. We see inflation at rates like we've never seen before that rival only the Great Depression era. Meanwhile, back to Iran, we find that the exiled Shah is dying of cancer, and he needs cancer treatment or else he will die. And Jimmy Carter and then Secretary of State Cyrus Vance are saying that this will bring danger to the American people. Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State, and former President Richard Nixon pressured Jimmy Carter to invite the Shah to the United States for much-needed cancer treatment. And the Iranians become irate. They take over a U.S. embassy in Tehran, hold over 60 hostages, release a few, whittling it down to a mere 52 that they hold for 444 days, completely condoned by the Ayatollah Khomeini, who also had a few choice words to say about President Anwar Sadat for settling in peace with Israel. Meanwhile, Soviet Union seized the United States in a crisis. Soviet Union, then led by Leonid Brezhnev, decided to take over Afghanistan. Meanwhile, Iraq, headed by Saddam Hussein, sees Iran in a crisis, locking horns with the United States, and they decide, with Soviet backing, to war with Iran. And this leads to things that take place long after Jimmy Carter leaves office. So, basically, a man who probably should have been most known for his negotiations at Camp David has a presidency marred by skyrocketing gas prices, a gas crunch that it leads to, overall inflation, and the Iran hostage crisis. Oh, and incidentally, the Soviet raid of Afghanistan leads to the United States pulling out of the Olympics of 1980 because the Summer Olympics of 1980 are hosted by the Soviet Union. Pretty interesting stuff there. So, a lot of the communist countries were trained to call the Americans cowards because of that. And you had a lot of athletes that really, really wanted to show their athletic ability and their athletic superiority to the rest of the world. And it just didn't happen, man. It didn't happen. And so, with a presidency marred by all of this, Jimmy Carter lost in what was then the biggest landslide in U.S. history to Republican opponent, former governor, former actor, Ronald Reagan. My take on that is, although he did not have a very good presidency, he did seem like a man whose heart was in the right place. He did seem like an honest man. And when I learned many years later that he taught Bible study to children every Sunday, which is a lot better than what Sean Combs did with children, I could say this. I do have some empathy and sympathy for the Carter family. And yes, I do believe heaven holds a place for James Earl Carter. And waiting for him up there in holy heaven above will be Jesus Christ, of course, Ronald Reagan, George Steinbrenner, and Fred Trump. And on to the I say. Respect God, watch out for the Illuminati, tell all your friends about me, subscribe to my channel. Stay strong, keep kicking that slang. It's your boy in the building, hip-hop legend, recording engineer, underground rock and roll hero, MC Too Tall.